donating your body after you died. There's so many different facilities you can donate your body to. In Mary Roach's book, Stiff, it talks about different options you can do. Stiff is a well-organized book with full of information about dead bodies. She goes into detail of how bodies decay and what bodies can go through for scientific information. Mary Roach describes many different ways that your body can go through. It can go through car crashes, it can go through plastic surgery, and it also can be hanging on a cross just like Jesus Christ. Mary Roach's book is towards people who are interested in dead bodies or the science behind death. It is also very interested to people who are thinking of donating their bodies to science. Mary Roach's purpose is to observe how cadavers can help us in the future, with a better understanding of what cadavers are used for. Just like in chapter 1, how she walked into a college and observed how plastic surgeons use the cadavers for plastic surgery. In Mary Roach's book, she uses a lot of science to back up her ideas. In chapter 4, she explains how cadavers are used in car crashes to explain how much impact we need to break a human shoulder in a car crash. In chapter 6, cadavers are used to explain how wide a gun bullet is or how small it is. Mary Roach also shows a lot of emotion throughout the story. She uses humor and she shows a lot of respect towards the people she's talking to. In the book, she writes, by and large, the dead aren't very talented. They can't play water polo or lace up their boots. This is very humorous towards something that's very dark. Even though the dead people can't do a lot, she explains how funny it is that they can't. She shows a lot of respects to the dead people or anyone she's talking to. Heart, but heartless is the last thing you call her. Even though the person is not alive, you should treat them always with respect. Like I mentioned before, Mary Roach is really humorous throughout her book. Her tone also changes to informational and formal. Another way she shows that she's humorous is by the pictures in front of each chapter. Throughout the book, she also shows that she's very informational by giving many examples throughout the story of who she's worked with and who she went to visit. Formal is another word for respect. Just like I said before, she is very respectful to the people who she's talking to. In chapter 1, she talks to this girl named Teresa. Teresa is the one who explains how they work with cadavers for plastic surgery. She also talks to this man named Terry, who shows her how water reduction works. These are examples of the pictures she shows before each chapter. On the far left is the picture for chapter 11. This chapter talks about different ways you can cremate your body. You can either through water or you can do it through fire. So it is very humorous of how the ladies are dressed to explain how bodies are being cremated. In the middle is the picture for chapter 3. It uses the Wizard of Oz because the witches burn when they die. And for us, after death, we are being eaten by maggots. The pictures closest to me is chapter 6. In chapter 6, they explain how the cadavers are shot to explain the bullet length, the width of the bullet. This picture is very humorous because all three guys are pointing their guns to one man. Mary Roach delivers her idea throughout this book is very interesting. But let's talk about the cover first. In the cover, she shows two dead man's feet and a tag. This is to represent how dead people are tagged. On the top of the book, it also shows the New York Times bestseller. This is to get readers to read this book to figure out why it's the New York Times bestseller. Inside the book, she always has a picture before a chapter. I thought this was very clever because the picture always relates to what the chapter is going to talk about. Another clever thing that she does is put a star in the middle of the passage. It explains more in detail of what she's talking about. Also adds any comments that she has. Mary Roach uses a lot of outside sources to really explain how cadavers help in science. She visits a lot of colleges and meets with a lot of people to really get the information she needs to write in her book. One place Mary Roach visits is University of Tennessee. She visits there to experience the field of dead people. At the field of dead people, she really experiences the bodies decaying. She goes into detail of how the bodies decay. Mary Roach also gets a lot of information from different people's book. She uses C.J. Thomason's book about mummification to get more details of how people create mummies. Are you still thinking about donating your body to science? If you are, you should totally read this book. It gives you a lot of information on what you should do and where you can donate your body to. This book is a lot of information, and that's why I enjoy reading it and encourage others to also read it. This book also gives you a lot of knowledge on what happens after death. And I encourage everyone to read it because this is something that will get you thinking of what you want to happen after you pass. I can connect this book with my life because once my uncle passed away, he donated his organs to science. And in the future, I also plan to donate my organs to science or to anyone that needs help.